busts / overvalued. Very key. We don't think all these guys are going to have terrible years. We just think they're going a little bit too early in drafts. But before we get into it, do it.
So it's the Kickstarter, and you've probably seen this because nobody watched the bust video first. Everybody loves a sleeper.
Maybe they did.
No, everybody loves sleepers, so you watch the sleeper video first. But if you haven't, Kickstarter. Go to Fantasy Football University at Kickstarter or go on to FantasySmackDoc.com. We have a link to it. We're trying to push through an app. We'd love any donations that you would possibly be willing to give us. And if you donate X amount, you get t-shirts, hoodies. We'll call you weekly or be in touch with you weekly about your fantasy football team. A lot of cool stuff. Dustin does these crazy artworks kind of things. Awesome things. Give him a bust, Dustin.
Maybe if you like our busts, that'll be enough to get you to donate. And the first one, Jim Johnson. If you're a Jim Johnson fan, sorry. But
there's like 12 out there.
There's only 12. I mean, the reason Jim Johnson's on here is because if you look, I think one mistake that a lot of people do as far as looking at closers is they look right at saves. Yes, I mean, that's what closers do. They get saves. But that only tells part of the story. And just because a guy gets, 50 saves, or right around 50 saves, it doesn't mean that he's a great closer for your fantasy team, because his ERA may have been, 3.5 or something like that. Jim Johnson, a little bit overrated in our opinion, just because of the saves.
All right, gonna talk about Juan Segura. And I said this stat in the rankings video, but this is just mind-boggling to me. He's getting drafted so high. Pre-All-Star break, 325, 11 home runs, 27 bags. Post-All-Star break, 241 average, 1 home run, 17 bags. True, he didn't have as many at-bats, but still, he's young. That scares me. Don't be burning, an early third-round pick on this guy.
Jacoby Ellsbury is the next guy I want to talk about, and I think, especially in fantasy baseball, people get so caught up in the potential. Like, oh, this guy. I mean, it happens in other fantasy sports as well, but people just ignore all the other things. Like, how about all the years where he's been hurt? And, it's just injury after injury after injury. If he stays healthy, he will have a great year. But will he stay healthy? Probably not. Don't overpay.
All right, next guy I'm going to be talking. You know what? Let's just keep going on that. I wasn't going to talk about this guy, but every year we do this. Every year people hate him. Go, he's such a monster. Have you seen him? Josh Hamilton. Yes, he is a monster. But what? We might get less hate this year because he gets hurt every single year.
Well, last year he didn't even do that well, even when he was healthy.
He didn't even do that well. I think he's currently on crutches. We're taping this at the end of February, so note that as well. Just don't look at the name and draft him too early. Who cares about the potential? Let somebody else take the headache.
Bryce Harper's the next guy.
Oh.
I mean, kind of the same deal as like you're drafting potential where he's going. I mean, yes, all the potential in the world. This guy's one of the most exciting players in the game. But at the early second round, or where you gotta take him,
really turned to the end of the first at this point.
That's way too scary. Yes, he could give you that, but there's plenty of other proven guys at that spot that will almost guaranteed give you that. So, it's a little scary. A little scary.
Dominic Brown's the next guy I'm talking about, and everybody remembers the May and June. He had 18 home runs. He was just bashing the ball, crushing it. It was amazing. After that, he had 6 home runs. So, and almost the same amount of bats. So just keep that in mind. I don't think he's as bad as the 6 home runs and 200 bats, but he's certainly not as good as the 18 home runs and 200 bats. It's somewhere in the middle. Draft accordingly.
Trevor Rosenthal is a young closer that's getting a lot of attention, and in my opinion, in our opinion, getting a little overhyped. Yes, he could be a top-tier closer, but that bullpen's pretty solid. And if he starts to slip, I don't think there's a guarantee that he has that role the whole year. More than likely he will. It seems like they want him to be their closer of the future, but don't be taking him the 4th, 5th closer off the board. It's a little too scary as well for him.
And it's interesting how Dustin said, in my opinion, because as the president and CEO of Smack Talk, he rules with an iron fist.
I do.
He yells, he screams, he cries. So the next guy that I'll be talking about is Jose Abreu, the first baseman for the Chicago White Sox out of the Cuban League. We think that he's not going to do that well.
Brent loves him.
No reason.
I think
he was a batting champion. He is not Cespedes. That's who Dustin thinks he is. He's going to have a low average. Not that many, okay with steals, okay with home runs. Is that why?
I think he will have a solid year, but I think he's getting overhyped.
And he is a little bit, and I'm falling into it as well. So I do agree on the bust list. If this guy is slipping in drafts, I like him as a value pick, but don't fall in love with, the fact that he's one of the Cubans that's coming over and the hype that he's getting.
We won't be able to settle this bet for 13 months, but he will go 20 picks later next year than he will this year.
Well, that's not too crazy. That's like rookies
Well, that means
in
he's
football.
not going to live up to the hype. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's why I said it's okay that he's on there.
All right.
He's still going to have a good year.
But he's not going to live up to his draft position.
I think he lives up to his draft position.
I don't think so.
It depends on his draft.
We'll settle the bet after this.
We'll see.
We'll figure it out.
All right, last is sorry, Dustin, you're talking. That was my guy, apparently, that I was talking about. So go ahead, boss.
Papelbon's the guy I'm talking about. This is a guy that just, yes, some closers can pitch into their late 30s, early 40s and still be effective, but Papelbon just does not look to be the same closer. And that's why I'm staying away from him. I think you should really consider doing the same. I just don't know if the upside's there anymore. I don't think there's much of a chance of him returning to his old form. He just looks like, what's the saying, a shell of himself?
Yeah.
That people say that?
He was a batting champion in Cuba. And he was playing, and he's gotten better every single year. He's gotten better in these leagues. World Baseball Classic, he blew up. He's not a bust. I love Abreu. He's going to be just fine.
But the next guy.
We're putting him on here. Dustin says so. Dustin's going to go.
You talk about Profar.
Profar. This is actually a guy that I kind of like as well. But I do agree he is getting overdrafted solely based on the name. We've heard it for how many years now? 2, 3. Oh, Profar, he's got the skill set, he's going to be elite. And sure, he could break out at some point, and this kid is still extremely young. But you basically have to draft him like he's already had a few solid years behind him. That's crazy. Why don't you pick somebody instead that's had a few solid years behind him and let somebody else take the big gamble on him? Because I don't think his upside's crazy like a breakout like Trout kind of year.
And that's our bust / overvalued, and you can be sure that I will be getting a text message every time Jose Abreu hits a home run from this guy. But I'm still confident in saying that he's going to go a little too early. Because you gotta pay for the hype.
I mean, you don't have to pay that much.
I think
Where you gotta take him?
About 20 picks. 20 picks
No.
higher.
I mean, he'll go
That's
late.
what I'm saying. Next year he'll get drafted when he should, and it'll be 20 picks later.
20 picks later, so he's going to be like outside the top 15.
That's the point of this video.
I know, that's why he's on there, because you want him on there. I'm saying he's going to do good. You're saying he's actually going to do bad.
Dustin.
You're calling him a true bust, I feel.
I'm not calling. I said 20 picks.